Cheers. Let me do this. Myself down a little bit. It's a little hot. Oh, good morning. It is Saturday, May 4th, 2024, and we are at First Fruits, where we give God the first fruits of our day and His Word, listening to His voice for our lives. This morning we continue on with Hebrews chapter 12, and we are reading 14 through 29. We'll just see about that. I don't think that's right. 14 through 29. Okay, here we go. Verse 12. You know what? Didn't we just stay?
We did 1 through 3.
We did 1, 2, 3, or 2?
Or 2.
Okay, today we're going to do 3 through 17. So I'll have to relabel the video.
17. Okay.
Yeah. Give this a try. Lord, thanks for this time. Thank you for this word. Teach us this morning. We're excited to hear what you have to say. Amen. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And have you forgotten the exhortation that addresses you as sons? My son, do not regard lightly the discipline of the Lord, nor be weary when reproved by him, for the Lord disciplines the ones he loves, and chastises every son whom he receives. It is for the discipline that you have to endure. God is treating you as sons, for what son is there whom his father does not discipline? If you are left without discipline, in which all have participated, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. Besides this, we have had earthly fathers who discipline us, and we respected them. I lost my place. And we respected them. Shall we not much more be subject to the Father of the spirits and live? For they disciplined us for a short time, as it seemed best for them, but he disciplines us for good, that we may share his holiness. For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields a peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Let's stop there. If you're okay. Is that all right?
Great with that.
Okay.
That's the end of my highlighted section.
Yeah,
from
it just felt like the end
2002.
All right, I think that's good. Yeah, it felt like that was the end of the thought, and I'm not sure why my Bible has it continue on.
Yeah, mine stops at after 12, or 13.
Oh, is that right? Huh.
But after 11 is where my old 22-year-old memory verse passage stopped. So
awesome. All right, you want to take another pass through it? What do you think?
yes.
I'm trying to remember the context here yesterday, since we have such a great cloud of witnesses, right? Let's run with endurance the race, looking to Jesus. Yeah. Who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross. Okay. Consider him who endured it from all sinners. Such a hostility. Okay. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood, and you have forgotten the word of encouragement that addresses you as sons. My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes everyone he accepts as a son. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as sons. For what son is not disciplined by his father? If you are not disciplined and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are illegitimate children and not true sons. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of our spirits and live? Our fathers disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it.
Okay. I was having a hard time following it when I was reading it myself, but when you read it, it was easier. It's good we read it twice.
You did. I noticed you were reading it pretty fast, so I was like, it's getting it. I don't know.
Okay, so in the encouragement, I'm just going to kind of talk through it as I was like following the thinking path. So he's encouraging us to keep running this race. And when we experience pain and suffering in the race, don't lose heart. Remember two things. One, that Jesus suffered. And two, see suffering as see it as God's love towards you, a father's love towards a son. The father disciplines a son. It's painful in the moment, but peace and righteousness will come from it. So that's three things, I guess. There's three encouragements, three things to think about when you're suffering.
Yeah.
And the third one, painful in the moment, but peace and righteousness comes. That actually aligns with what it says earlier, that says when Jesus was suffering, he did it for the joy set before him. So it was painful in the moment, but peace and righteousness came from his suffering. That's why he did it. He looked forward.
Where is it written that?
It's what we read at the end of yesterday. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross.
Oh, got it.
Despises the shame.
Yep.
And so it's like we're thinking about peace and righteousness that will come from the suffering, which is the discipline of the Father. Okay. Think about this. Did a lot of talking, just trying to break it down myself in my own head, but just stop my video for a second, reset my camera.
Oh.
I'm still here. Just lurking in the background. Just the camera angle was set too wide. How deep, how wide is the width of my camera angle? All right. What do you think, Daniel? What are your thoughts on this?
He makes pretty broad statements about fathers and sons and discipline. Wonder how many of his specific audience could not relate to this specifically. Because I'm thinking, well, what about all the guys that didn't have a father, or had an absent father, or had an abusive father, or something to that effect?
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
or some dysfunctional father situation where they
exactly
didn't. Yeah. It's interesting, like in a way, like I can see this being kind of, I can interpret this as talking about that in a way, because it says, for they disciplined us for a short time as it seemed best to them. When I read it like that, it's like, okay, they're not perfect. They screwed up. You know, they're human. They made mistakes. They disciplined us as they thought it was best to, but that's not necessarily a healthy or good thing. Just what they thought. But he disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. But yeah, technically speaking, I guess even like an absent father could have a motive to use that as discipline. Be cruel, but
right. But it's I think the point of this is God is a perfect father. He does know a correct way of discipline, and he does so that we will be better in his eyes. You know?
For our holiness, it says. For our good, we share in his holiness. So that's interesting. So like, he's trying to tell these people their suffering is God's discipline. Which is kind of weird, actually, because isn't their suffering born out of other, like Jewish people who are trying to convert them back to Judaism and have them leave Christianity? That's the suffering they're enduring, and he's saying that's God's discipline.
Yeah.
Being tempted to leave
maybe
God is discipline of God. That sounds really weird.
Maybe it is not so much. I mean, you think discipline versus punishment. Punishment, you did something bad, I must hurt you for it.
Yeah.
Or take away your stuff, because that's just the law.
Pain.
Discipline is this. Undergoing discipline. God disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe, sometimes it comes with you did something wrong, I will have to discipline you. It will be for your good, that you may share in my holiness. Sometimes it might not be anything, except that, I think you can still improve. You're in a really good spot. Let's improve you a little bit more.
I see. So discipline isn't something, it's not responsive necessarily to something we've done wrong. It's not like
it's not necessarily consequential.
I see. So yeah. So so the author is using a metaphor, but he probably recognizes that that's taking the metaphor too far to assume that, any suffering we experience is punishment for something we've done wrong. That's not what he's saying here. That's where the metaphor kind of ends. I mean, what he's trying to do is encourage them. Because right in verse 12, he says, therefore, lift your dropping hands, strengthen your weak knees.
Exactly. I mean, you think about it. Physical exercise is discipline, and it is not fun in the moment. It hurts.
You know what? Let me look up the word discipline. See what it says here in the Greek. Are you able to read with this? Is it too small?
Idea.
Yes, paideia. To instruct.
I actually read that from the Greek. Haha.
Nice job.
It's close enough to Russian Cyrillic. Okay.
To instruct. To instruct children. Okay, that's interesting. So originally it didn't mean to chasten or discipline or chasten. It meant to instruct. It didn't to instruct children. It evolved to mean chastening because all effectual instruction for the sinful children of men includes and implies chastening and correction. Okay, so where's the Hebrews? Right here. By synecdoche, taking apart for a whole, it means correction or chastisement. Oh, maybe it does mean that. Means such training as the Lord approves. By synecdoche. What is synecdoche? Synecdoche. What is a synecdoche?
That's Greek for synecdoche.
Synecdoche.
And sounds good to me.
Let's see. Just some sort of never seen that word before. A figure of speech in which a part is made to represent the whole, or vice versa. Okay, here's an example of a synecdoche. Synecdoche is how do you say it? So here's an example. Cleveland won by 6 runs. What you really meant was Cleveland's baseball team won by 6 runs, but you just shortened Cleveland's baseball team down to Cleveland. That's a synecdoche. A figure of speech in which a part is meant to represent the whole, or vice versa. That's a synecdoche. Never knew that. Okay, I see what they're saying. So originally it meant instruct, but it could also mean to chasten. By synecdoche, taking apart for the whole, it means correction and chastisement. So they ended up lumping those two things together into a single word as a figure of speech, a synecdoche. Interesting. Learn more and more every day. Yeah, this one's kind of a slippery slope, I feel like. It's easy to misinterpret this one and go too far with the metaphor. Because he is also saying, according to the person who's interpreting this Greek word, it's both. It means both. Okay, I can rationalize that. If it means both, that means that sometimes the Lord, it means 2 words, right? Sometimes the Lord is instructing us. Sometimes the Lord is chastising us. Paideia means both, and lumped it into a single word. But the readers, the listeners of the day would have known that it meant both instruction and chastisement. So in some cases, our suffering is we're being chastised. punished for something we've done. Other times, and I guess if that's not the scenario, we haven't done anything wrong but we're suffering, that means it's the other half of the word. It's the instruction part. The Lord is teaching us something. So our discipline is either a result of suffering or of punishment, or he's teaching.
Right.
What do you think? Our suffering. That seems valid to me. In both cases, it's an act, it's love. It's the love of Father.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
I immediately come up with Mickey Goldmill from Rocky.
Okay.
Rocky's trainer, the guy holding the bag, and yelling at him to keep going and putting him up against the do all your reps, keep doing all your reps, keep doing all your reps. And then when he's actually in the actual fight, he's the guy that just keeps pulling his head back, scrubbing his face off, whispering to him.
Rock.
Exactly. He's like, he is in your corner the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to make it hurt during training, but he knows it'll hurt worse during the battle.
He's encouraging and teaching during the battle. That's pretty good. I love it. He takes on both roles. It's either a result of God's discipline or teaching. My suffering is either a result of either God's discipline or his teaching. But regardless, know peace and righteousness follow but, my friend, only if we pick up our cross and follow him.
Gosh, I love the boxing analogy too. I'm thinking about it now.
Okay.
It brings kind of new meaning to he will not give us more than we can handle. He's going to give us something we can barely handle, so that what that is will be easier and easier, and then he can give us more the next round, and the next round, and the next round, and pretty soon we're just like beefing up like crazy.
He's always stretching us. When I say stretching, I'm not talking like yoga. Like he's stretching us beyond our
breaking our
belief
limits
about ourselves. Yeah, and what our limits are. That's pretty good. It was for the joy set before him that he went to the cross. He saw what was on the other side of suffering, and he went forward and did it. Now we are sons of God, and we have a choice in our suffering to either run from it or run to it, like Jesus did. Oh my. because on the other side of it, fruit of peace and righteousness, joy. Man. Was Esau sexually immoral?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
8. Who was Abraham's cousin?
Lot.
Lot. That was Lot. That was sexually immoral. But he was also drunk, so he didn't know it.
Or is that Noah?
Noah was as well. Noah was.
I thought Noah's daughters slept with him. They got him drunk.
That was Lot's. That was Lot's daughters.
Oh.
That was Lot's daughters after they escaped Sodom and Gomorrah. They went and hid in the mountains, and then his daughters are like, well, there's no men around except for one.
Yikes. Okay, so here's the deal with Esau. So in Genesis 28, I'm gonna go there. Genesis 28. Esau marries an Ishmaelite. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take a wife from there. I remember reading that the other day. He didn't go himself. Is that what I was thinking?
Isaac sent his servant to go find it.
Yeah, that's what
or
it was.
Not
okay.
Isaac, it was Abraham's servant.
Okay, so he blessed him. I guess Isaac had blessed Jacob and directed him, you must not take a wife from the Canaanite women, and that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Padan Aram. So when Esau saw that the Canaanite woman did not please Isaac his father, Esau went to Ishmael and took his wife beside the wives he had. Halath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. So this was the adultery, apparently, that Esau committed. So if we go back to 12.
So his cousin, which was Isaac's brother's daughter.
Oh.
Isaac's brother being Ishmael.
Keep it in the family. Okay. And that happened in the city of Nepatis. That makes sense. That's where that word came. I'm joking. Okay. It's for discipline. Where is it? Oh, I read forward. Okay. No. Therefore, here it is. Okay. No one fails. Okay, see to it. I'm reading in Hebrews 12 here. See to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many become defiled, that no one is sexually immoral or unholy like Esau, who sold his birthright for a meal. But you know that afterward, when he desired to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no chance to repent, though he sought it with tears. Wow, that's interesting. So it's like, so in your community, make sure everyone obtains the grace of God. Like, see to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, which I think is basically rejecting the blood of Christ and his forgiveness, right? Going back to the law. That no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble. By it, people become wild. So continue to forgive one another, grace for one another. Accept the forgiveness. Well, it's actually accept the forgiveness of God. 1, 2, continue to forgive each other. Because if you don't, you will fall into sin, right? Verse 16, if you don't, Um, do these things, like receive God's forgiveness, forgive each other, so that you don't become sexually immoral or unholy like Esau, who sold his birthright for a single meal. This is your inheritance as sons and daughters of God. Don't sell your birthright like Esau did for a single meal, or a single sacrifice, I guess, where you know that afterwards, when he desired to inherit the blessing, he was rejected. Huh. Well, I didn't know Esau intermarried with Ishmael's daughters. You know that?
But also just unholy like Esau, who sold his birthright. I think that stands alone as well.
Yeah.
Gave up what he had for temporary satisfaction, sustenance.
Right. That's right. I think the sexually immoral thing is really interesting. Why is it saying that? It's like I mean, this whole thing seems like it's just really focusing on staying with Jesus, receiving his love, not trying to leave the forgiveness and grace that God's offered through Jesus, to go back to the law. And then he kind of moves into this other area where, like, be encouraged, keep running this race. There's joy on the other side. And make sure, continue in the forgiveness of God, receive his forgiveness, continue to forgive others, be gracious towards others. But then he kind of throws me for a loop when he's like, that no one is sexually immoral. Like, whoa, where'd that come from? Are they struggling with that? Like, where's,
I thought they're Greek, of course they are.
Jewish.
They're first century Greek.
Jewish Greek. It looks like in the next chapter he does get into the sexually immoral situation. Let marriage be held, so chapter 13 verse 4, let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous. Huh. So maybe there is this happening as well. But so it's like, continue to receive God's forgiveness and forgive each other, because if you don't, you're going to struggle with sexual sin. Is that what he's saying? Is it just like, boom? I feel like that must be happening. He's hearing about it, because otherwise, why would he say this? It just seems totally out of left field. I mean, does he? I don't think he. Okay, sorry. I just realized we're 4 minutes over, and we're veering into different directions. Do you want to keep going, or do we want to roll? I actually do want to show you my little setup situation, what I got going on.
I can take a look at it.
Okay, let's finish, and then we'll go do that.
Okay.
I don't steal too much of your day.
Yeah, I don't know what I've got going on today. My mom's birthday is today.
Ooh, cool.
Problem is, my dad's been doing his bladder stuff all week, and that has been the primary, or rather the sole topic of conversation all week.
I see.
And so every time I call her up, which I try to call her daily, She's just like, oh yeah, dad this, dad that, car trouble this, and oh, by the way, dad and dad and dad. And I'm just like, Mom, your birthday's coming up. What do you want for your birthday? Mom, when can we get together to celebrate your birthday?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the last thing on her mind. Well, I finally cornered her yesterday and said, hey, I feel a little bit bad for saying this, but why does it all have to be about dad this week? I have a birthday present I want to lavish upon you. When can I do that? He's like, oh, well, tomorrow's not going to work. Dad's taking me down to Denver for the day. He's got something planned. I don't know. I'm like, okay. So
You're a good son.
Well, here Helen and I are making plans all week of like, okay, I've got this, you've got that. We're going to try to head over there on Saturday and see if we can give her cards and stuff before certain time. And it's not going to work today because we've got stuff in the evening, but maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
Let me pray and then we'll stop this live stream. We'll give. Here we go. Lord, thanks for this time. And thank you for this word. This has been a good word. It's insightful. This teaching. Again, not running from suffering, but running to it. Knowing it's either your discipline or your instruction and teaching. And it's really just, it's your love for us. Isn't that amazing? Thank you, Lord. We love you. Amen. Oh, Yaakov, I didn't even see you were here. Shalom. Awesome. All right.
I know some live streamers make the chat window an entirely separate monitor of its own. Maybe you need 4, Damien. 4 monitors. 1 for chat.
You know what I think I should do? I think I should swap. Okay, let me stop this live stream.